And we are recording.
Yay.
Yay, indeed. So, this is an experiment. This is a kind of a more of a produced video that I'm going to be making instead of a live stream. I thought me and Rob would discuss the Nintendo Direct that just happened.
Hi guys.
So, I have a little slideshow up here to avoid copyright strikes, and Rob
Good
can't
idea.
actually see it, but I figured I'd put it on here for you fine people, so you don't just look at our faces the entire time.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, the Nintendo's Direct was, I guess it was now 2 days ago because it's after midnight. And I would say it was probably the best Direct they've had in a year or two, to be honest. Like, if you don't count
Yeah.
E3 as Directs, and yeah, it had some pretty great announcements and some pretty confusing announcements as well, considering the last trailer they showed.
Oh
Confusing,
yeah, yeah.
at least vague to the point where people seem to be confused about what kind of game it is. More so than I thought they would be. But I guess we'll get to that. Um, they started out with WarioWare Gold, which I didn't actually see. I missed that part because I didn't even realize it was on until I got home and went on my computer, and I was like, oh, the Direct is happening. I should probably watch it.
I was watching it on my phone at work and it kept skipping.
That
I missed the entire that entire part, the WarioWare and a couple other games.
Hmm.
But yeah.
And yeah, I was supposed to be making pasta salad because of it was my last day of training at work tomorrow or yesterday, and we had like a potluck kind of thing, and then my girlfriend ended up making it while I was watching the Direct.
You're the silent hero here, Megan.
Yes, yes, she is. And like, I was all ready to be because I took the salad in, and I was all ready to be like, I made this myself. But then like my girlfriend ended up making it, so it like played right into the stereotype, like the cliche. Anyway, WarioWare Gold is the compilation they announced. I'm assuming it's gonna have every game, like Mega Micro games, touched, and I'm assuming it's gonna have Twisted because the 3DS has the accelerometer. And Twisted was an amazing game. I don't think enough people played that game. I loved Twisted. It was really, really good.
You have to be honest, I've only ever played the first one, but it looked really good.
And Touched, yeah, Touched was also fucking amazing. Like, that was the game that sold me on the DS, was WarioWare Touched. Like, I was so into that game. I used to play it just over and over again. Like, I think I 100%ed that game.
Those little mini games are so simple, but they're so addicting, huh?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and there was nothing else like it either before the first one came out. So I'm pretty psyched for this. And I also I've been wanting to pick up Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, which is basically just another compilation of Rhythm Heaven games. So both of these are games I'll probably be getting by the end of the year because they're just like great portable on the go kind of pick up and play games, and they have a lot of charm too.
If I may say, I was actually really happy with the Direct. Like, one of my personal favorite things about it was that they showcased so many new Nintendo 3DS games. Because I've been a little worried that they're trying to phase it out, but clearly they're still pumping out really good titles, so that was exciting.
Yeah, you can definitely tell they're trying to show fans that they're still going to support the system. I think it's telling that a lot of them are compilations and ports and remakes. Like, it doesn't seem like they're really investing in a lot of newer engines and newer games, but I'm okay with that if it's going to be good stuff like this. So
Mhm.
I'm probably going to pick this up because I've always loved WarioWare. And yeah, so yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that because they didn't really go into much detail about it. They showed a few clips, but it was I think it was mostly games from the first one, the GBA one that they showed. There was another. They might even have games from WarioWare Snapped, which was a DSiWare game. Excuse me. And that game was fun too. It used the camera, and it kind of was like Kinect, really. Like, you controlled the game just by moving around.
Mhm.
It wasn't super accurate because the camera on the DS is pretty bad. um, but the funny
I think
thing,
I do remember that, actually. Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't played it, but I do remember seeing, like, videos and stuff of it.
Well, I never had a DSi, but when I picked up my 3DS, I like made a point of downloading all those like all the really well-reviewed DSiWare games like that and Photo Dojo, which is a fucking great game if you've never played it. It's like a fighting game where you can like put yourself in the game and like record yourself using the camera and the
That is
microphone.
fantastic.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, and WarioWare Snapped was cool too because after you'd like play the games, it would be taking pictures of you without you knowing it. So then at the end of the game, it would like show a compilation of you playing the game, and you'd like have these ridiculous like looks on your face, and you'd be just like in these weird poses. It was pretty great.
It's great.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. Next we have the remake of Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
You know what confuses me about that one a little bit? They did the first one, and now they're doing the third one. Why didn't they remake Partners in Time first?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. That they basically are skipping over Partners in Time. I said basically pretending it never existed. I have two theories about this. One of them is that I'm pretty sure Bowser's Inside Story actually did sell better.
Hmm.
And
It's the best-selling. Actually, I read about this. It's the best-selling Mario and Luigi game.
really, is it the
Yep.
best-selling Mario RPG? Period? Because I mean, it was a DS game, and that thing
I
sold like
think
crazy.
Don't quote me on that, but it is. It's either that or one of the Paper Marios. Yeah, believe it or not.
Hmm.
It
I
is
can
the,
believe it.
yeah, one of the best-selling, I guess. Because I'm
I-
pretty sure it outsold Dream Team.
I could see that. Dream Team was
Yeah.
a good game, though. I was into that.
I played a little bit of Dream Team. I liked it, but I just never finished it. But Bowser's Inside Story, that's a really good game. That was
It was
another
good,
one
yeah.
again I didn't finish, but I thought that was a really good game.
I finished Dream Team, but I never finished Bowser's Inside Story, and
Mhm.
the reason was because I didn't have I had a not so legitimate copy of it, and it actually froze at like a key story point in the game, and I could not get past that part.
No.
And I don't know if that was a DRM measure or not, but it was pretty frustrating because it was like 10, 15 hours into the game.
Oh my god.
But so because of that, I never finished it. Yeah.
What do you think of that? That for the remake of that, the Bowser Jr.'s, what is it called? Bowser Jr.'s
Bowser
Adventure or
Jr.'s
something?
Journey, I think.
Journey, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's my other assumption is that because the first remake really focused on Bowser, I'm assuming that's why they went to this one because Bowser really doesn't have much of a presence in the second game.
Hmm.
So it seems like they're trying to transition Mario and Luigi to like a Bowser focused series. I'm wondering if the next one is going to just be a Bowser RPG because I'm totally about that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I mean I don't know what else to say about it other than like it's obvious that they're getting a lot of use out of that engine that they used for. Or I'm sorry, Dream Team was the fourth one. Partners in Time was
Yeah.
the one I finished. I never finished Dream Team.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You're saying the engine for Dream Team, right? Because I think
Yeah.
that was probably used for Paper Jam and the Mario and Luigi remake, right?
yeah, and now this. That's 4 games. So they're
Wow.
obviously, well, as far as I can tell, they put a lot of work into that engine. Like it has super detailed sprites
Mhm.
and a ton of really good animation. So I'm not surprised they wanted to get a lot of use out of that engine.
Yeah, I was very. I'm honestly pretty impressed with the graphics for Dream Team and like, just the. I think they really made it look like the remake of Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. It really looks beautiful compared to the original Game Boy Advance sprites. You know, they did a good
Yeah.
job.
The art style is a little different. Like it's a little more detailed, a little less cartoony.
Hmm.
And I kind of miss that cartoony style that the original one had a little bit, but I mean, it's still a great game, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So moving on. Next we have Detective Pikachu, which I know you've pre-ordered.
I pre-ordered that. I cannot wait for that game.
I honestly, is it going to be like a point and click adventure kind of game, or like, do you even know?
I honestly don't really know.
You just need to have Detective Pikachu in your life.
It just, like, I think for me, the thing that's so appealing about it is it's so different,
Uh-huh.
and it looks like the story is really hilarious, and I don't know, Pikachu's voice is really funny, and
Yeah.
it looks like there are like, I don't know, I kind of like, I like solving mysteries, so I think that's kind of what's appealing about that
Oh, I just heard myself a little bit.
that game. You know.
I hope I'm not coming through too much. I mean, I think that was me. Anyway, but yeah,
Yeah.
I like solving mysteries.
Yeah.
It's too bad they couldn't get Danny DeVito, but
Oh man, that
and
would be
the
great.
are you aware that they're making a Hollywood movie based on this game?
What?
Yes, they are.
Are you kidding me?
And Ryan Reynolds is playing Pikachu.
That is insanity.
Like, yeah.
Oh
It's
man.
apparently they're like after the success of Pokemon Go, the studios were like coming to Nintendo and being like, okay, we need to make a Pokemon movie. Like, we need to cash in on this. And
Hmm.
apparently that led to Detective Pikachu getting a movie.
Makes me even happier that I pre-ordered the game. I'm super excited to play it. I'm totally stoked.
Yeah.
It's a game I wish I could play on the channel, but I need to figure out how I can capture 3DS games before I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, and I like that like a lot of other Pokemon show up in it, and it seems like it's gonna kind of focus more on just like the less of the battling aspects of Pokemon and more just like how Pokemon and people interact in this world and how they live together.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah, the gameplay, I have to say it's odd. Like I usually gameplay is usually the first thing I notice, but it was just like as soon as I saw that that game was coming out, and I had obviously heard about like because it's been out in Japan for what, like a year, at least a couple years now. Hasn't it
I
been a
think at
little
least
while?
a year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at least a year, right? So I was just excited that they finally decided to localize it, and just the whole premise is hilarious. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah. That original Japanese
fantastic.
trailer was just so great.
Yeah,
Just
it
the
was so
voice he
good.
has.
Yeah,
Oh man.
so good.
So yeah, I'm pretty psyched. I look forward to seeing what that game is like once you get it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll make sure that I show you the game, and if I beat it, you can even borrow it if you want, or if you like it enough, I'm sure you'll buy it. But it's
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that game. And Nintendo, if you noticed, like that was one thing I thought about going into the direct. I was just kind of like, well, how much are they gonna just show the games that are coming out immediately? Because I knew Kirby was
Hmm.
coming out, like that's coming out I think next week, and
Hmm.
then obviously Detective Pikachu's coming out at the end of the month, so I
Yeah.
assumed they were going to focus on the game.
Yeah, they at least talked about it a little bit. It seems like it was a lot of announcing release dates for stuff they talked about already, but it was a good mix of that and announcing new stuff.
Yeah,
And a surprisingly large amount of stuff had dates that they were just announcing that like they would announce it and they'd have a date already.
that's what was so nice about this direct is that I was trying not to get my hopes too high because I'm like, well, I think the direct before it they kind of mostly focused on what was coming out within the next couple months,
Yeah,
whereas this they really went in depth more,
definitely.
which
Yeah.
is something that I really was happy about.
And as I was saying to you yesterday, like if this is what they're showing now, like imagine what E3 is going to be like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I look forward to talking about that.
Yeah,
If we
and we
get to
can
that.
maybe even get into some predictions for E3 at the end of this video.
Sure.
Next, we have the Luigi's Mansion remake, which is an interesting choice.
That one I'm super stoked about because, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it reaffirms to me that that Nintendo is still interested in the Luigi's Mansion series.
Yeah,
So that kind of made me happy about it. And I kind of wish that they had remade it on the Switch, not the 3DS, but I'll take it. I'll take it on the 3DS.
well, there was a
Uh,
rumor that Luigi's Mansion 3 was in development for the Switch.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if
I have heard that rumor. Yeah.
I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if maybe that this kind of news kind of got like miscommunicated or mixed up in some way.
Hmm.
Um, my only real concern is that Luigi's Mansion was kind of a short game, and
Hmm.
all they really seem to be adding is a boss rush. So I don't know if I'm gonna pick this up, to be honest.
Hmm.
I also had Luigi's Mansion, like I bought a GameCube a month after it came out, and I probably played through Luigi's Mansion like 10 times because it's just that short, right?
Yeah, I've played at least 4 or 5 times myself. So yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I still love that game. I still love the atmosphere of the game. I still love the design of the mansion. It just feels like if it didn't have ghosts in it, it's like the kind of mansion you'd totally want to live in.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's just such a well designed and interesting space to explore. So,
And the gameplay's so unique and interesting. The way that you use the Poltergust 3000, it's just such a. It feels like it's honestly the mechanics of the game should be a Ghostbusters game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically yeah, totally. And they've never made a good Ghostbusters game. They never made a
Yeah.
game Ghostbusters game that was as good as this. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and it's like they should just take a few pages out of Nintendo's book there. But I also wanted to say with the remake, I thought the graphics looked really good
Yeah.
for the DS, you
And
know.
it's that game is kind of coming full circle too because that game was originally intended to have a 3D effect, believe it or
Oh,
not. They had designed a screen that you put over your TV, and it was
hmm
the same idea as the 3DS, except it was a
wow,
giant thing that you put on your TV. It's just
wow,
they
I
never
didn't
brought
know
that
that.
to
That's
market.
interesting. That's
Yeah,
interesting that it's come full circle now. That's
that is
awesome.
cool. Yeah, I also feel like I must. The Nintendo purist in me must correct you. The Poltergust 3000 was the cart in Mario Kart. The Poltergust 2000 was the
Oh my
back.
god! Oh my god! All right, thank you. Touche. I'll give you that. Thank you. No,
uh,
please correct me. That was hilarious.
no, that's me
Poltergeist
being
3000.
ridiculous
Oh my god.
and nitpicking, but obviously I'm
Well,
not being
now
serious.
I don't own it on the GameCube anymore, so I either need to get that version or I'm just gonna pick up the 3DS version so I can replay it and remember that.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have the GameCube version anymore either. In fact,
Yeah.
I think the only GameCube games I still own are Twilight Princess and F-Zero GX. I'm pretty sure that's all I'm down to at this
Oh
point.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
that would be, the other thing is too that what's nice is that'll eventually go down in price, and that'll be a nice like game to pick up for $20 eventually if you ever feel like playing it again, you know.
yeah,
So
and I do have nostalgia for that game for sure. Like I definitely do want to go back to it at some point. So
Mhm.
I think yeah, I think I'll pick it up maybe once the price goes down if it becomes a Nintendo Select or
yeah,
if Nintendo finally decides to start actually doing like good holiday sales on the eShop maybe because like they're kind of behind the other publishers in that regard.
yeah, touche.
They don't seem to be willing to lower the prices on their games very often.
Maybe we'll be lucky and it'll retail for like $30 instead of 40, but you don't know, you know.
It's possible. It is just a short game, so I find
Yeah.
myself if I find it hard to justify spending $40 on a game that I'm probably going to be able to beat in an afternoon or at least a couple of afternoons.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
I feel like I'm just much more conscious about spending money on games as an adult than I used to be, though.
I completely understand. It's a lot of money, and you don't want to, if you're going to spend, especially if you're buying a new game, $40, $60. Well, and for you,
Yeah, and in
Canadians,
Canada, it's even more.
even more.
It's usually $10 or $20 more up here.
Yeah, so it's like a big investment for a game, and you want to make sure you're buying a game that you really want and is really good. You know.
Yeah, like ever since the price of games went up here, I have been so much more conscious about buying games new that
Mhm.
I have not like Breath of the Wild was the only game I was willing to shell out money for because after tax I paid $90 for that game.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
worth it. I've put like 200 hours into that game, so it was totally worth it.
Yeah. My biggest regret in recent memory is one that you share was buying Mario Tennis, which is a great, wonderful little segue into the next.
I was gonna say you mentioned Kirby Star Allies because that was actually the game they talked about next.
Oh, okay. My bad. Okay.
I would. I just don't. The slideshow is kind of dictating the order.
Oh, that's okay. It's fine.
I just don't want to be like flipping through stuff a bunch.
Sure.
But no, you're right. That is another game they talked about. Now Kirby Star Allies is coming out very soon.
Next week.
We all know a lot about it already. I mean, it's basically just another Kirby game with co-op. It's got some cool new powers. It's got a nice art style to it. I like it. It's the first kind of like really like modern looking Kirby game I think in a while that like actually looks like it's really taking advantage of the Switch's power.
hmm
Because a lot of Kirby games, not on the DS necessarily, but the console Kirby games, I feel like they've gone a little simplistic with their art styles, especially the Wii one, Return to Dreamland.
hmm
Not that it wasn't a good game. But this game just looks really nice, though.
I downloaded the demo for it actually,
Yeah.
and I played it. I actually it's on the last Mario Odyssey video because I just finished up that series on my channel, and as a little bonus at the end of the video, I
Oh.
played the demo.
I should check
And
that out.
well, I'm sorry.
I just said I should check that out.
Oh yeah. It's really, but I have to say, just from the demo, it was awesome. I love the whole idea that you can basically like throw these little hearts at enemies and they become your friend. And then obviously if you have like a second, third, or fourth player, they can control them like they did in Kirby Superstar. But then
That's cool.
it has an element kind of like Kirby 64 where you can combine abilities, but you actually require the like the partner to do that with. So and not all
Hmm.
partners will do it. So for example, like there was like you get that the sword ability that Kirby gets, and if you have a partner who's one of those fire guys, he can give you a fire sword. So you can combine the fire ability
Ah.
with the sword. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that they brought that back from Kirby 64 because that was a really cool idea.
Yeah, I think it's one I'm gonna probably end up picking up because it's aesthetically really nice. The backgrounds are really beautiful. Actually, to be honest with you, aesthetically it reminds me a lot of Super Smash Brothers, which makes sense.
Yeah,
But
totally.
it
Totally.
actually it's kind of funny. The collectibles, there's like a bunch of collectibles in it, and I don't know, it just looks like a really, really, really fun Kirby game. And I don't think we've had a really great console Kirby game in a little while, so it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
like I know you like Kirby 64 a lot, but for me personally, like Superstar has yet to be topped. Like,
Agreed. Agreed. I love Kirby 64, but Superstar is the best Kirby in my opinion.
yeah.
The the Kirby Superstar Ultra for the original DS was a great game too.
Oh, it was, yeah. I loved
Yeah.
how they completely redid the graphics and did the cinematics, and they
Yep.
added a few new modes and games.
Yeah,
Um,
I was addicted to that game for a while.
yeah. And yeah, they announced the whole Dream Friends feature as well.
Hmm.
We already knew that Meta Knight and Waddle Dee and DDD were going to be in it.
Hmm.
But they announced some pretty cool free DLC, which like
Hmm.
actually got me way more hyped for this game. We've got the Kirby's Dream Land 2 animals, Rick, Kine, and Koo.
Yeah, they were cool.
We've also got Marks from Kirby Superstar, who is, I guess, his friend now. We also have Magui from Kirby's Dream Land 3, which I'm not as familiar with. But I
Oh,
remember,
little blue ball with the long tongue. Yeah,
yes, I
yeah.
remember running into him and just being like, "What is this?" And like, "What do I do with this?" I didn't realize there's like a two-player character at all.
That's funny.
Uh, but yeah, I think that's really cool. I love when they do that. I love when they reference their old games. It doesn't need to be
Mhm.
like a main part of the game. It doesn't need to be like essential to the game, but like they did a great job of that in Breath of the Wild too, with like the Phantom Ganon
Mhm.
costume and the Majora's Mask and like the Makar mask and like just so many great little just nice little nods to old
Mhm.
games without being overt about it. Like that's another cool thing about I think how they've been making games lately is they're willing to take risks and like go outside their comfort zone, but they're not willing to like forget where they came from at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're talking about Nintendo specifically there, obviously, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just in general.
I completely agree with that. It's been really nice. It's nice that they've also been more open to um, not just new IPs, but also allowing other developers to develop games with their IPs.
Yeah,
So you have
definitely.
things like Mario and Rabbids and Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors, and who knows what else is
Mm.
coming down the pike, you know?
Yeah, and Metroid Samus Returns.
Yeah, you're right. Samus Returns. Yeah, yep. So it's nice.
Yeah, and yeah. The next game we have here is Okami HD. I don't know if you've ever played Okami yourself.
It's funny. It's funny because I went to GameStop today and I sent you a picture. I bought some PS3 games
Hmm.
and I saw the original Kami for the Wii and I realized I've played this game before. So
Oh,
my other friend James, funny enough, he had a Wii and he bought a Wii for that and Smash Brothers Brawl and I remember that game being really really cool. It
it
was
is.
actually one that I'd honestly consider picking up.
Yeah, I actually bought a PS2 to get that game because
Oh really? Wow.
yeah, I wanted to get a PS2 to play Final Fantasy 10 and 12 as well.
Hmm.
But that game just really intrigued me. Like the art style looked so cool, and the
Yeah.
fact that it was like heavily inspired by Zelda, obviously, was a big
Hmm.
thing for me. And yeah, it's like a painting come to life, and it's so cool how they take all these old like Shinto mythology figures and like incorporate them into this game.
Hmm.
and it's just got like really cool music, and like I just love like running around Shinsu Field. I love that music they play for that. It really captures that like Zelda experience of like running around and solving puzzles and
I think the art style is really unique. I really like it.
yeah,
It's
it's
definitely a really cool looking game.
yeah. R.I.P. Clover Studio. They made some cool games. I've still never played God Hand, but I'd love to play it sometime. And Beautiful Joe is another great game too.
Beautiful Joe was a fantastic game. I would love to see that game come back in some capacity. It'd be cool.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air because like Platinum Games is a lot of former Clover guys, but
Hmm.
I think Capcom owns the rights to those
Hmm.
characters, right? So
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of tough.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the situation with that, so
I'm
that's
assuming that's what it is. I'm assuming that's the way it is, but I'm not
mhm.
sure about that. I'm sure someone out there knows. Anyway, um, next they talked about Octopath Traveler. They gave a few more details about that. Some more characters. They had one of the developers on to talk about it.
Mhm.
They talked about how it's going to launch on July 13th, which is my birthday. So
Whoa!
maybe I'll get a Switch for my birthday with Octopath Traveler.
Now,
Hint
are you gonna get
hint.
the collector's edition of Octopath Traveler?
It's funny you mentioned that. I've got a clip. I've got a picture of that right here.
Oh, cool! Great.
um, that looks really cool.
It looks nice. Yeah.
It's got like a diorama. It's got a
Mhm.
map. It's got
Yep.
an art book. It looks
Like
like
a
it's
little
got a
coin. I think.
coin. Yeah, I think there's a soundtrack CD there as well.
Yep. My buddy Matt, he's very into collector's editions. He got the Xenoblade one. He got the Breath of the Wild one. He just anytime there's a collector's edition of some game, he gets it. And he was telling me, he's like, honestly, I wasn't thinking about Octopath Traveler, but I think I might now because that collector's edition looks like it's like I'm like okay. But I actually played the demo for this. This is something
Mhm.
else I actually played on the channel, and
Yeah.
it seems like a very very interesting game.
Mhm.
Atmospherically, it reminds me of Final Fantasy VI. Like
Mhm.
it's just it
Oh,
gives
totally.
it just like it's like it immerses me into that world again for some reason. I
Yeah,
know it's a different
no.
world.
The art style is totally a callback to Final Fantasy VI. There's no question about
Yeah.
that. And I have been waiting for that. Like I've been waiting for them to finally make another game in that art style, and this
Hmm.
is exactly what I wanted. Like
Hmm.
I love the sprites of the monsters and the battles, how they look. I love how like the cities look.
But yeah,
And
it's got like a three. It's weird. It's like it's 2D, sprites, but shown in like a 3D plane. I guess is how you would describe it. It's very
yeah,
interesting.
it's not
Yeah.
quite like Minecraft style voxels, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's like it's definitely like it's got a look to it.
Yeah, it's got a very unique look to it. I really like it. It's also, I think, really cool that they put the demo out so early to get feedback from
Yeah,
people.
that's a really cool idea. Like
Uh,
Japanese developers aren't usually that receptive to
no.
people's ideas, so I'm really glad that that's something that seems to be changing in their development culture over in Japan. Because I think they could really benefit from
Hmm.
taking in other people's ideas, taking in Western development culture.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it's only a good thing that this is happening.
It'll probably make people feel too, like especially if they notice. To me, if now I played the demo, I didn't give any feedback or anything. I thought the game looked great, but like I imagine if you played the demo and you were to put in your 2 cents, and then all of a sudden what you wanted is there, it kind of
Yeah,
would
that's
be a good
crazy.
feeling,
That's great.
like you're actually being heard. So
Yeah, and I mean that's been a thing in Western developed games for a long time. Like companies like Blizzard or more recently Epic with Fortnite, they really
Mhm.
do take feedback to heart, and they really do make those changes based on feedback that they get. And I mean it's so easy to give feedback to people through Twitter and stuff like that these days too.
Mhm.
So it's cool to see. It's cool to see fans actually having an effect on the development process.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for that game. That's a game I'm most definitely going to be picking up as soon as it comes out because it's like I said, the art style is great. It's I my love for turn-based RPGs. I love them.
Yeah, it's.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say honestly, like after Snipper Clips, believe it or not, Snipper Clips is the number one game I want on the Switch.
It's so
Uh,
fun.
Octopath Traveler is the game that I want. That's I might actually buy a Switch for that game.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't blame you. It looks really good.
speaking of Snipper
Uh,
Clips, we finally got to play that for the first time today. Actually, we played it at a Best Buy, me and Megan,
Hmm.
and it was a blast. Like it was
I'll
great.
have to consider that because you've talked very highly about it, so I might have to see if I can maybe get that game. It'd be fun to play.
Yeah,
So
I'm all about that game. I will that is going to be a day one purchase for me when I get a Switch for sure.
I'll be very happy when you get a Switch because that means we can play Splatoon again.
Yeah, that's probably going to be
Yes.
that version 3. Like, I didn't take a clip of that actually, but that version 3 stuff in Splatoon 2 like really made me want to get that game. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
they're adding like 100 pieces of clothing. It's
I
crazy,
know.
and it's all free.
Yeah, it's amazing, and a new one-player mode, like or like a single-player story mode. That's amazing.
Yeah, I liked the look of that. It might have been the weirdest Nintendo trailer I've ever seen, but it looks really interesting. Yeah.
Did we want
Um,
to get into Splatoon right now, or do you want to save it for?
I'm seeing what I have next here. The
Okay.
next game they talked about was No More Heroes. I don't know if you ever played those games at all.
I haven't played No More Heroes.
I don't
No,
know.
I haven't.
I played the first one quite a bit. I owned that, and I rented the second one, which
Hmm.
was a bit of an improvement over the first one.
Hmm.
The first one had an open world that you could run around in, but there was pretty much nothing to do in that open world,
Hmm.
or at least not much to do. And the second one got rid of that, and it was just pure, fighting guys. Um, you basically just have a lightsaber, which they call a beam katana to avoid copyright issues.
Bean katana.
And
Yeah.
it's just the most ridiculous, over the top, very Japanese game I think you'll ever play. And like, I just love Grasshopper's completely zany sense of humor and his like just love of retro games and how he just combines those two things. And it's just like one of the most unique. Like his games are some of the most unique games I've ever seen in my life.
Hmm.
And I'm super excited for this because like the last game he made. Trying to remember what it's even called. It was Let It Die. It was a free to play game,
Hmm.
and in this game like I wouldn't say it broke the fourth wall, but it was a game within a game where like you're playing as someone who's playing a game that he gets sucked into, and it's called I can't remember what it's called. But it's a video game system that you have that like sucks you into it. And this game actually has that same video game system from Let It Die, and Travis gets sucked inside of it, and he like gets sucked inside a bunch of different games of like different genres. So like,
Amazing.
it's pretty cool. And I mean, I got a little picture here of it's basically like another rogues gallery of assassins that you have to like basically work your way up to become like the top assassin, and like there's just like this list of like the top assassins in the world, and you have to like get to the top of that list by like killing all of the other assassins, and they're just like the most ridiculous over the top characters. So
It sounds interesting. You're making me want to like pick that up now. Too many
yeah,
games.
I'm definitely into that. And I mean, in No More Heroes 2, they added the ability to literally turn into a tiger and maul enemies. And I was very happy to see that coming back in this game. So yeah, we have that available this year. No release date yet though. Um, Probably gonna talk about more at E3, I imagine.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they will.
So yeah, next they talked about Dark Souls.
I pre-ordered that.
Yes. Now, based on your Link to the Past stream, I feel like this game is going to like break you. I think it's going to drive you completely insane.
So I've never played Dark Souls, everybody.
Yes.
And
So I'm
what's
looking
happened
forward
on
to
my
this.
channel, if I can shamelessly plug, is uh I've I basically have been gotten a lot of requests from people to play Dark Souls because I rage really hard on games. A Link to the Past, the latest stream, is the perfect example of that. And I guess you're by the look on your face, Dark Souls is very difficult.
I'm trying to
And
hide my
I'm
smile. Yeah, Dark Souls is a game where you learn by dying. Like you do not. There's no way to play through that game without just dying over and over and over again, and like learning the nuances of the combat and the animations. And I actually did not get that far in it. I got to the part with the giant boar, if anybody has played it, which is like I think right after Blight Town, maybe. Um, but I mean, it has like insanely cool bosses. It just has a really cool art style, and it just has this like dark, almost kind of Cthulhu-like kind of like Lovecraftian kind of horror.
I
Not
like that. Yeah.
obviously not as much as Bloodborne, but
Yeah.
it's just like there's nothing else like it. There's just this sense of dread in that game that's just like palpable.
Just from like the trailers and watching a little gameplay footage of it, it looks very interesting. I
Mm.
that kind of dark kind of tone is very appealing. I really enjoy that. So, and by the way, the amiibo is pretty random, huh?
Yes, we have the amiibo. There's the amiibo, the Solitaire of a Store amiibo. And I just wanted to show this. I love that they put like like a clip of this huge boss, and then they were just like network test. Like that just made me laugh. They like took it so seriously.
That's
And yeah, they
great.
have the Solitaire of Astoria, who or Astora, who is like I guess a big character in that game. I'm not super I think into the story. Another really cool thing about Dark Souls is that it has a very old school approach to and how it like approaches plot. It's
Hmm.
very kind of vague in how it tells its story. You kind of have to figure it out for yourself.
Hmm.
And a lot of it you literally get from like reading the descriptions of items and stuff like that.
Oh
And
wow.
so it's like it's very old school in its approach to like not holding your hand, not really telling you what's going on, not telling like letting you figure things out for yourself. And I think that's why it really struck a chord with people because
Oh, okay, I see.
it really flew in the face of where games were going when it came out. Because games were just getting so much more linear and so much more cinematic and like I'm not somebody like I don't mind linear games, but I'm just not really I don't really like games that are the same every time you play them.
Well, the original came out around like what PS3, 360, Wii era, right? Around that time.
Yeah, it was 360, PS3, and
So
then
yeah,
PC
I
later.
do recall a lot of games were exactly how you described them. You know,
Yeah, just like
very they're very short games too, very
it
not
was.
challenging. Some of them, you
A
know.
lot of them were short, yeah, because budgets were getting really bloated and people were putting more voice acting and more motion capture and more just like big
Hmm.
blockbuster cinematic moments in their games. So it just wasn't financially feasible to make them as long as they used to be.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And I think in the wake of Resident Evil 4 and God of War, which both used QuickTime events very well, which is, you know,
Hmm.
press button to make cool thing happen.
Yeah.
The people just started really, really overusing those to the point where like the entire game was press button to make cool thing happen, and you
It's
never.
unfortunate. It kind of happen. It's like that with everything, huh? It's like there's something innovative that comes out, and then there's 1,000 copies of it, and then it
Yeah, and
becomes the
but
whole
they don't
idea gets
understand why.
saturated. You know,
Yeah,
huh?
but those I was just gonna say those 1,000 copies of it don't understand what it is about that mechanic that makes
Right.
it good, and they don't use it in a subtle, interesting way that serves the gameplay or the narrative instead of just like being like, well, this thing is big right now, so let's cash in on that, right?
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, we've got that interesting amiibo, which gives you a, I guess it lets you do that pose when, because Dark Souls has another like kind of weird subtle multiplayer element to it as well,
Hmm.
but it's not like you can't just play multiplayer anytime. You need like a certain item in order to like invade somebody else's world.
Hmm.
I'm honestly not even really sure how it works because I've never actually played Dark Souls multiplayer, but it's a game that really obfuscates a lot and a game that is not upfront about everything, and I think that's cool. I think that's it's just different and it's interesting and it's innovative
Yeah,
and,
it's nice when you
and it's
have
unique.
to use a bit of, you have to explore a little, and things aren't just, right in front of your face. Even though I am a person who gets frustrated with games very quickly, I can appreciate that aspect of it though,
Hmm.
especially when you're younger, because it's like you're you play a game like a Zelda or something like that, where it's just like you don't really you go into it and you don't really know where things are, and you have to explore and you have to find the item to be able to go to this area. So if it's got that kind of, you know,
Yeah, like I think they were very heavily inspired by like the original Legend of Zelda games like that.
hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's just I understand why that game struck a chord with people because it really promotes agency and it really promotes kind of thinking for yourself and
Hmm.
it promotes multiple playthroughs because you can really kind of customize your character quite a bit as well. And there's
Hmm.
many ways to play through it. The combat system is just has a lot of nuance to it and a lot of depth to it.
Hmm.
So it's a pretty great game. I should
Cool. I
I
look
should play
forward to
more
playing.
of it.
Yeah.
Next, yeah, so that's available May 25th. I don't know why. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of going all over the place with these slides. Next we have Waluigi with a rose in his mouth. I just needed to throw that in there. I honestly don't like, me and Rob both had a very bad experience with Mario Tennis on the Wii U,
Yeah.
and this game, Mario Tennis Aces, basically just looks like that game, but with actually like more than one stadium, and like they're actually wearing tennis outfits, and it seems like it actually has a story mode this time around, and it actually has an online mode that is worth using this time around.
An online mode where you could play with your friends. When I saw that, I was like, ah.
Yeah, the fact that that wasn't in Mario Tennis Open was just like, I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you not why would you just not give people the option to do that? So me, Rachel, and Rob, we spent $180 total towards this game, at least. And none of us really even played at all, because we just don't, like, we bought it to play together because we don't live, like, I live in Ontario, they live in New York. Actually, at the time, I lived at the time, she lived in Hamilton, and I lived in Belleville, and you lived in New York. So we were all, apart from each other, and we wanted to be able to play this game together, and we couldn't.
Yep.
And we all wasted money. Well, technically I got it as a Christmas present from my parents, but my parents wasted money on this game.
Yeah.
And
it was pretty lame, and I played this game with some people, like some of my friends and family, and it was okay, but like they made it as bare bones as possible.
It just felt so insanely rushed.
And what's frustrating for me personally with the new game, now the new game looks really good.
It does look good. Like, I will grant it that it looks good. It's just my personal experience with that series it just kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth about this game.
Yeah. It's a bit annoying, I would imagine, to anyone who bought the Wii U version of this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things about the Switch that are annoying to people who own a Wii U.
Oh yeah.
I count myself in that category.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand personally why Nintendo did what they did, why they basically did a redo, and why they're porting all these games. It makes business sense. It's just I kind of feel a little left behind as a Wii U owner.
And if I can say one thing that is good about it, like especially with them porting games like Tropical Freeze and Mario Kart 8 and Hyrule Warriors, and I'm sure many other games are going to get ported from the Wii U. At least these great games that were on the Wii U are actually going to have a kind of new life, and maybe more people will play them and appreciate them. Because,
Sorry.
I was going to say, I mean, the Wii U did have an excellent catalog of games. It's just that it just didn't do very well. That's all.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, sorry.
You
I'm sorry to talk over you. Yeah.
But that's obviously more important to me, that more people are going to play these games.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and I'm going to get a Switch anyway eventually because it looks like a really cool system. Mm-hmm. So I mean, obviously people just decided this wasn't the system they wanted. So I mean, you can't fault people for that, and you can't fault Nintendo. You can fault Nintendo for marketing that thing really poorly.
Oh yeah.
So you can't fault people for not buying it, because they did a really piss poor job of announcing it and marketing it, and they also did a pretty bad job of having a launch lineup that was in any way intriguing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And they also had that classic Nintendo problem of just having these droughts between their releases.
Mm-hmm.
And the Switch seems to be first time.
They had awful third-party support as well. That was their other problem.
Yeah, third-party support dropped off so quickly on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And the Switch seems to be the first time that they've actually solved that problem, and they don't have those droughts. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can keep this pace up once they run out of games to port from the Wii U. But I don't know if that's going to matter because so many people have bought it already. Mm-hmm. So because so many people have bought it, like it's the complete opposite of the Wii U. Like, people weren't buying it, so people weren't developing games for it, so people weren't buying it, blah 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 blah. But with the Switch, it's the complete opposite. so many people are buying it, the developers are rushing to this system. And there's so many indie developers that were so smart to get in on this early, and they are making bank. Like,
Oh yeah.
there are some indie games that are probably making more money on the Switch than they are on Steam right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
So
I mean, it makes sense. People would want to play have that on the go. That's the main thing, you know.
yeah,
So,
I think it's fulfilling that kind of promise that the Vita had for indie games. It's just unfortunately nobody bought the Vita, so the Switch
I
kind
will
of.
say, if people going back to the Mario Tennis thing,
Mhm.
if people think that, or if people like, I do think it does look like a great game, and if you guys think you should want to get it, you should. But just for me, I'm a little wary. You know, maybe eventually if it went down in price and the online multiplayer is really good and stuff, I'll consider it. Especially if you get a Switch or something, and other people I know get a Switch and I can play it more often. But you know, for me personally, being like owning it on the Wii U and owning a lot of these games that are being reissued on the Switch, I'm just not gonna buy the Switch ports personally.
Yeah, I really see no reason to. Just
Yeah.
even if I can play as Funky Kong, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not worth it to me. Especially since they seem to be charging more for these games the second time around.
Yeah.
Which if they can, it's supply and demand, right? A lot of people have a Switch. A lot of people are going to buy the games. Cartridges are
Yep.
probably more expensive than to produce than DVDs.
Hmm.
So it makes sense from a financial standpoint, from a business standpoint.
Hmm.
But as a fan, it kind of sucks. But I guess the older you get, the more you come to understand why businesses make the decisions they do.
Yeah. It's true.
I know personally from working for a wireless service provider for the last 3 years, I have come to understand why businesses act the way they do, and how many people out there. Well, I mean, I guess with the wireless service, it's more of a. It's not quite the same as video games, but there's just a lot of people out there who really try to take advantage of the system. So you understand why a lot of big companies are kind of reluctant to spend money they don't need to, because
Oh, of course.
they burn a lot of money. The bigger you are, the more the more money you got to burn on so many different things.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of getting off topic there, but
Oh yeah. It's gonna
uh,
happen with us, I think. It's okay.
yeah, I don't even. I'm not. How long has this video been going for? Jeez. Yeah, we're already at 45 minutes. So this is gonna be just like our 20 questions video, where it just goes on.
Well, right.
I'm helping my parents move tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. And thankfully, I don't have to get up as early as I thought I did.
We gotta go pick up Steven tomorrow, so
Oh, nice.
I assume you're gonna cut some of this out. So I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Next we had Captain Toad, which isn't that big a deal. I mean, it's a good game, but
This
I
goes
played
right
it.
back into what we were just saying. If you
Yeah.
own it if you don't own it for the Switch, get it. It's a fantastic game. I own
Oh,
it
yeah.
for the Wii U. I will say I do really like that they added some stages from Mario Odyssey. I think that's really cool.
It's funny you say that because I have a picture of New Donk City on the screen right now.
There you go, New Donk City.
And
Yeah.
and the multiplayer mode looks kind of cool too. But yeah, I don't have much to say about that.
Mhm.
Captain Toad is a good game though.
Yeah.
It's got, I don't remember what the term is, but it's got this term that it uses this philosophy of game design where it's like you introduce a concept, then you build on it, and then it's like a 3-step thing, and then you like conclude it, and you like basically introduce a simple mechanic and do everything you can with that mechanic within a 3-step kind of process within a small level. And it does it really well. These levels feel like little kind of like gardens that you can explore.
Yeah.
Almost like a little bonsai garden or something. And it's a really well designed game. It's simple, but it's charming, and it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insanely well designed.
Yeah, and it's really cute. It's a fun game. I played it with I actually played it with Rachel on Christmas because I bought it for her for Christmas.
Nice.
Just because it was cheap for the Wii U, it was cool, and we loved it. We played it for like a couple hours straight.
Mhm.
I mean, just really fun.
Yeah, and it's also coming to the 3DS as well.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be like a budget title, because I believe the original was as well on the Wii U. I'm not sure when that's coming out, to be honest. Next we have Undertale, which I need to finish playing. um, this was one of my favorite announcement videos, just because it involved terrible puns, which I'm a fan of.
Yeah, like I like how the beginning is literally a switch. That
It's
was
literally a
fantastic.
picture of like a pixelated life switch, lights switch, and and then I'm trying to remember this guy's name. I know Sans is the tall one. I'm I'm having a moment with the other guy's name, but
I just loved at the end where it was like coming eventually.
yes, coming eventually, and I
Now
love.
that's a game that I'm excited about
Mhm.
because it's a game I've been meaning to play for a while, especially since you said it's essentially a love letter to Earthbound. It seems like,
Yeah,
or the Mother series,
yeah,
which is one of my favorite series ever. So
totally. So
it's a
totally.
game I've been wanting to play for a long time, and I'm so stoked that it's on the Switch because now I can play it on the Switch.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, a love letter to Earthbound certainly belongs on a Nintendo system. So like,
oh yeah,
it's great to see all of these indie games like this and Super Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac, like in a sense, kind of coming home and like coming to the Nintendo systems
hmm
that and because Nintendo games are inspired these games very heavily. So
yeah.
it's really nice to see that. Yeah, and I loved the little that they threw in there. Um, Next we had Crash Bandicoot. Um,
That one just that was jaw dropping to me. And I'm not even a
mm,
Crash Bandicoot fan. I've only barely played the series, but I was
yeah.
like, Crash Bandicoot on a Nintendo console.
Well, I mean, this there was rumors of this
Yeah.
happening because Activision was the publisher, right? So
hmm
I believe it's also coming to Steam and Xbox as well.
hmm
But this, yeah, I mean, the first Crash Bandicoot games coming to a Nintendo system, like Crash Bandicoot was their direct competitor in the late
Yep.
'90s. There was literally a commercial of a guy in a Crash Bandicoot costume standing outside of Nintendo's headquarters yelling shit at them.
I remember that.
Yeah, so like this is cool to see. I love how they like had to clarify though. They're like, for the first time, the original Crash Bandicoot games are on a Nintendo system because there have technically been Crash Bandicoot games that were on the GameCube.
hmm
Skylanders was on the Wii and that had Crash in it.
hmm
So I mean, this isn't the first time Crash has been on a Nintendo system, but
Yeah.
this is the first time that these three games have been on it, and
Yeah.
these were like iconic PlayStation 1 games. And I mean, this was basically their Mario killer, or at least they wanted it to be anyway.
It's
Um,
almost akin to maybe to a lesser degree, but almost akin to like when Sonic games started coming out on GameCube game or like on the GameCube and stuff. Game Boy Advance.
yeah, like I never ever could have possibly predicted that a Nintendo system would have Sonic and Crash Bandicoot on it
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
kid. Like,
As a kid, it seemed impossible.
yeah, totally. Next we had the South Park game. I don't have a ton to say about that. It's nice to see multi-platform games coming to the Switch. It's nice to see that it has all the DLC and that it has the season pass
Mhm.
functionality. Because I don't think the Wii U had season passes, so it's nice to see that that's possible on the Switch.
Yeah.
Um, I
It's just nice in general, again, to see them getting so much third party support. So
Yeah,
it's,
totally.
seeing a South Park game, seeing these Crash Bandicoot games, seeing Dark Souls, seeing, Skyrim's on it already. I mean, who knows what's to come, right?
Yeah, and you've got Doom and Wolfenstein.
Yep.
I honestly, I think I said to you earlier, I would not be surprised whatsoever if at E3 we get, at the very least, a Battlefield and or a Call of Duty game.
hmm
And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if GTA 5 came to the Switch.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard like a lot of people saying that. Yeah.
Like if it had only come out on the PS4 and the Xbox One, maybe. But I mean, they made that game for the Xbox 360. Like
hmm
that's a pretty old system. I'm pretty sure the Switch could handle it. So yeah. Next, they talked about Arms. I'm not super into that game. It looks interesting, but I
Never
don't.
played it.
Yeah. I was more interested in the Game Developers Conference talks that they announced.
hmm
They're basically going to do one on Arms,
hmm
talking about how the Mario Kart 8 team kind of took the insights that they got from developing that game and used those insights to make a new fighting game. And to try like the challenges they had in coming up with a new IP that felt like
hmm
a Nintendo game. And then there's also a talk on both Splatoon games, which I'm super interested in because like
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Yeah. Go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Splatoon is, I think, one of the most exciting games to come out of Nintendo in at least a decade. Like
Oh yeah.
for me personally, like it was just so original and such a revelation in just like Nintendo can do this. Like they can make a completely original game. They can take a genre they've never dabbled in before and just turn it on its head and make it something into like something completely unique.
Hmm.
Make it into something completely unique. So I'm very interested to hear how they, how they came up with the ideas they had. I've heard that when they first came up with a prototype for this game, it was literally just like cubes shooting ink at each other. Like they didn't have any character design or anything. They came up with the gameplay mechanics first, and that seems to be a really good method. Like maybe it doesn't work for everyone,
Hmm.
but I think Nintendo's design first, gameplay design first philosophy seems to work really well.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite things about them.
Yeah,
Because if you just have at the core a great game, and then, you know, they usually have some kind of really like funny or like cool or cutesy kind of like skin to put on it, but at the core you have a formula that works. It's
Mhm.
great.
Well, you say cool. Like I would say this was the first Nintendo game in a very long time that actually was cool to me. Like like I found it cool as a Nintendo fan, but this was the
Yeah,
first time I'd played a Nintendo game, and I was like, this is like stylish. This is cool. Like I like,
yeah, it is.
and like it seems like Japan really latched onto this game as well as America, or
Yep,
as well as the rest of the world. I mean, really. Um,
it's very unique.
so it's great. It's
Mhm.
I'm really happy to see that it's been so successful, and I'm really excited to see where this series goes. And I can't wait for these talks to kind of find out about the origins of it. Um,
The whole direct really made me want to play Splatoon because I haven't played it in a
totally,
long
yeah. That
time.
whole Splatoon version 3.0 thing was just like, I need to play some Splatoon 2. Like,
Oh
that
yeah.
game looks great. And I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, I think it's really great too that Splatoon seems to be the first time that like a new generation of developers kind of like took the reins on a Nintendo game.
Hmm.
And you can really tell too because it has some very different design philosophies from their old games.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's exciting stuff. Um, and yeah, I took a bunch of clips from the trailer for the Octo expansion just because it was such a strange trailer. It was very long-winded.
Hmm.
Uh, it
Yes, it
was
was.
it's kind of a little dark, I guess. It had some
Mhm.
interesting looking characters in it. And it was kind of vague at first. Like I didn't know where it was going. I like the look of that character though.
Well, people have been wanting the Octolings as playable since the first one,
Hmm.
so I think that's one of the reasons why they made it such a big deal.
And excuse me, it seems like the trailer implied that once you finish this, you'll be able to play as her in the multiplayer mode.
Yep. I
So
think
that's
they
cool.
pretty much said it, didn't they? I don't
I
remember.
maybe, yeah, I think they did say that
They said
actually.
it, yeah, which is
And
awesome.
yeah, and like the single player levels were already cool in Splatoon, but this seems to be like it's taking it to a whole other level. Like,
Mhm.
and I really like that you're in this big subway that's like kind of an open world, and that you have these like test chambers, which is obviously reminiscent of Portal.
Mhm.
Um, and it looks pretty cool. I might pick that up. I might pick it up right away, honestly, if I get Splatoon 2. Um, it'll probably be out by the time I do, so I'll probably check it out.
I'm excited for all the new all the new clothing and everything in it, like all the new just all the content that they're putting into this update. I'm probably gonna have to honestly get the expansion because
Yeah, it
it
looks
looks
pretty
like
cool.
it's really adds a lot to the game.
And I
So
loved the like 80s aesthetic of the logo. That was really
yeah,
cool.
that
uh,
is cool.
I also really liked that guy. I don't know what his name was, but the guy from the Splatoon development team. Um, I have a couple of pictures here of him just because I really liked how he looked with these aviators and his lab coat and that pose he did when he
The
talked to.
Squid Research Lab. Oh, the ape
Yeah,
thing you did. Yeah.
was that what it was? Yeah, I think it was like pretending to be an octoling. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um, and we're actually getting close to the end here. Was there another game you mentioned that you wanted to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
We already talked about Splatoon. We talked about Mario Tennis. We talked about Dark Souls. We talked about yeah.
Um, I,
I think we covered.
okay. Yeah, I think
All
Splatoon
the
was the
pretty
game that you
most.
wanted to seg into earlier. Actually, now that I think
Yeah.
about it. Okay, just wanted to make sure. And then, of course, last but not least, we had the surprise announcement. It started out looking like a Splatoon trailer. Some people maybe thought it was a Splatoon 3DS game or something. Um, and I pretty much right away assumed that it was them coming to Smash Brothers because, like,
Mhm.
I mean, like, if they're going to be launching an online service this year, what better game to launch it with than Smash Brothers?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, and I mean, what better character to add to Smash Brothers, right? So, I mean, it seemed like it was something that was pretty easy to predict, but I still was like, it was still just great to see that Smash logo appear in
Mhm.
her eye.
Yeah.
I like just like snapped my finger. I was like, yes, I knew it.
Yeah, I had a feeling honestly, like when the trailer first started and you see like the classic colored Inklings, like the boy and the girl running around, I'm like, wait a minute. I think I know what's coming, and then like you said, as soon as you see the logo, you're like, yep, there it is, cool. You
Yeah,
know?
and like just the look of the like that giant Smash logo wreathed in flame with like the characters under it. Um,
Mhm.
Upon closer like inspection, I'm starting to question whether this is a port because a lot of like the way that Bowser looks, for instance, he looks a lot different than he did in Smash Bros. 4. But
Mhm.
it's also possible that they're adding new skins and new costumes. So I'm I'm pretty on the fence. At first, I thought it was pretty much guaranteed to be a port. Um, I don't think it makes business sense to develop a completely new engine, completely new
Mhm.
animations, do all the balancing all over again. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why they would do that. I would be very surprised if it's been in development for such a long time that it would be a new game and that they somehow kept it secret.
It's amazing how much since that trailer dropped, this has kind of blown up because I've been watching a few videos, a lot of like analysis trailers on, analysis videos of the trailer and stuff like that, and like one guy was saying that he thought that well maybe this game was in development alongside the Wii U Smash. That seems a little
That
unlikely to me.
seems highly unlikely to me.
Pretty unlikely. But my theory is that it is a port, but it's like a remix is a bad word, but I like you said, maybe they're doing a lot with changing the skins and the overall look of the characters, but they keep the same engine.
Yeah,
And
I could see
so
that.
I don't know.
Like, I could see it being like a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe situation, where they're just kind of enhancing it, adding features, adding
Mhm.
courses and modes. Like, my prediction is that it's going to have all the DLC. It's going to
Mhm.
have all the 3DS stages.
Yep.
They may add Ice Climbers, I hope.
Yeah.
And
Ice Climbers.
Wolf was the other character who still hasn't come back, and Pichu as well. I'd love to see all three of them come back.
I'm guessing at least three new characters. That's what I would guess.
Yeah, I
I
mean
think
they've had
that
plenty
sounds
of
about
time,
reasonable.
so I mean, there was lots of DLC characters, but that's what my thinking is that because they designed this engine that was kind of meant to be modular and meant to have features added to it and
Mhm.
characters added to it, I just don't see why they would start from scratch. Like, it just doesn't
Yeah,
make sense to me.
it really
It's
doesn't.
it seems like such a investment, such a huge investment when they have this code just sitting there with a perfectly balanced, not perfectly balanced, but a balanced game, and they
Well,
could.
that's what I was saying to you earlier. I mean, I personally, as a fan, don't really see why. Like, I don't even really wouldn't. I'm not even really all that. Like, I don't know. It doesn't thrill me the idea of a. I mean, it'd be cool to have a brand new game, I guess. But like, the the Smash Bros. For Wii U just came out what 2 3 years ago?
Well,
Wasn't that long ago?
3.5 years ago now.
3.5 years ago, I guess. Yeah, I guess it doesn't. I don't know. I just think that that game was so well made that it's really not necessary for them to rebuild the entire game from scratch.
No, that
You
game
know?
was insanely well made. It ran at 60 frames
Yeah.
a second. It was fucking smooth as butter.
Oh
It,
yeah, and how many updates did they have for it for balancing reasons and
yeah,
whatnot?
exactly. Like, And I mean, Sakurai pretty much killed himself making that game. Like, did people
Oh
really?
yeah,
And he's admitted that he worked on this new one too. Like, he said on Twitter that he worked on this new one. He's
yeah,
been working on it in secret for quite some time.
yeah.
But like, I just, I mean, I may be wrong. I may be surprised and find out that it is a new game. But I just don't. If I had to bet on it, I would not say that this is a new game.
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting.
and
You
people
know.
seem to be really like, I wouldn't say they're convinced, but I think they're trying to convince themselves it's a new game. I think people are looking for any excuse they can, and they're turning into like a beautiful mind, like looking through the newspapers, like just like trying to find any hint that they possibly can that this is a new game.
Yeah. It just
Um,
seems unlikely to me if it was a brand new game, also that it would be coming out this early. Don't you?
exactly. If it like it's coming out this year, like
Yeah.
I mean it's possible if they manage to keep it a secret, but like would they actually manage, like these days is like you can't keep anything a secret for that long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
It's
just it seems unlike at at best it seems like they're really doing a lot to just like revamp that version of Smash. So they might make more changes and add more than they did to say Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
yeah,
But I
for
can't
sure.
see them building it from scratch, you
That's
know?
what I think too. I think they're going to add lots of new stages and costumes and maybe items, maybe new characters.
Maybe polished all the characters up a little bit, like how they
Yeah.
look, you know.
Like I'm sure there will be Breath of the Wild costumes for Link and Zelda.
Well,
You
that's
know?
the thing that you did you notice that in the trailer how Link looked?
Yeah, he doesn't have his hat on. He's the Breath of the Wild Link.
Yeah, and he's got the little what you call it? You can just tell he's got the Breath of the Wild look.
The sideburns
So,
or whatever. And if you look closely at him in that wide shot, he has a round shield like he does in Breath of the Wild as well.
hmm
Which I mean, you can get the Hylian shield in Breath of the Wild, but what they used in all the promotional material was the Traveler's Shield, which is the circular one.
Oh
So
yeah, you're right.
I
Yep.
could definitely see that Breath of the Wild Link making an appearance.
I wonder if like Mario will have like a Cappy from Odyssey or something. I know
That,
he didn't in the trailer, but
yeah, maybe that'll replace Flood.
Yeah.
I would like that.
I'd be okay.
Maybe he could even get like a Kirby style ability where he steals people's powers. Like that would be interesting.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
And then Kirby wouldn't be the only one that has it.
Yeah.
Um,
I personally think it's going to be essentially the same game, but just they might change. They might do some changes, maybe even some one or two dramatic changes to it. But you know, it'd be nice. I personally think it would be nice if they had some kind of one-player story mode, because I honestly really liked the Subspace Emissary and Brawl. It probably could have been done better, but
It
you know,
was-
why not try to do it better?
yeah, it was cool. It was really cool
Mhm.
fan service. It was definitely a little long-winded. Like,
Yeah.
the end of it was a little weird. How like
Yeah.
you basically just replay a bunch of levels again. But other than that, it was great. Like I really loved playing through those levels and hearing that classic Nintendo music. I mean, I think Brawl had one of the best soundtracks of any game ever.
Mhm.
It was such an insanely good soundtrack,
It really was,
and
yeah.
4 did too. I mean, I mean, when I found out that Brawl and again with 4 was going to be just this like huge collaboration of like big names in the video game music industry coming together and just like making arrangements of their favorite Nintendo game music, and they
Mhm.
basically could choose anything they wanted. Like that's like a dream come true if you're a video
Yeah, that's
game music
awesome.
fan. It was, and I mean, it wasn't even just Nintendo music with 4 either. Like they had plenty of music from Sonic and Metal Gear Solid and Mega Man. I mean, and Pac-Man.
hmm
It was great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
I have to say, I have to say, real quick that all that stuff I was saying before about like owning all these games on the Wii U and not buying the ports to the Switch. This is the exception.
oh, totally.
'Cause
Especially, yeah.
I was even thinking, I was like, maybe I won't get the Smash version, but you know what? My brother-in-law usually will say to me, "Hey, why don't you bring the Wii U down and bring Smash?" And for me, it's kind of a pain to pack up all that crap.
Oh
So
man,
now if I
yeah.
can actually bring the Switch with me and have, you know, just a little Switch and Smash, I'm good. The only question I have though is, will they somehow make the GameCube controller adapter compatible?
So,
You know?
I don't know if you saw oh yeah, I sent it to you, the video game donkey video. I
Yeah.
love how he was like, how are they going to use Nintendo Labo to let you build a GameCube controller out of cardboard? I was like, that's exactly what they would do.
Yeah.
Um, I sincerely doubt there's going to be a GameCube controller. I'm pretty sure the Switch Pro
Yeah.
controller is just going to be the way to go.
That'll probably be it. Yeah.
I bought the GameCube adapter, and I used it at first when I bought Smash 4, but I gradually came to like the gamepad and the Pro controller better.
Me too.
So I'm honestly not at all. I don't have a problem with not having a GameCube controller.
Mhm.
Um, I
I
just
know
want.
that's some people's preferred method of playing. So, for me, but I agree with you. I honestly mostly play with the gamepad on the Wii U. So,
I think honestly the gamepad I think is a super underrated controller. I love that thing. It's super
yeah, me too.
comfortable. The screen is a questionable idea, but the controller itself, holding it as someone with giant hands, I love that controller.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
um,
I have really long fingers, so
yeah, me
it's,
too. They're good for playing piano though.
great. Huh.
Yeah, another thing people seem to be pointing to is the fact that the logo is different. It's not
Mhm.
actually that different. It's basically just a minimalist version of the logo from the Wii U game.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't think that's a really good example of how it's a new game.
I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's logo slightly different. The colors are slightly different.
Yeah, so
So they put a couple lines in it, you know.
yeah,
Smash Bros. Yeah.
that's the kind of reaching I think there. And the other thing people are pointing to is the fact that it says copyright 2018 and not copyright 2014 to 2018.
Mhm.
And that people literally saying that it says original game copyright Nintendo, so it must be an original game, but that's not like it says that in every Smash Brothers game. So like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a bit far-reaching, and it's more than a bit far-reaching to
Mhm.
assume that this is just going to be a brand new game. I don't think it's very very likely at all, personally.
No, like
So
if I had to bet on it, I think I would say the chances are probably like 80 to 90% that this is a port.
my and I'm totally fine with the thing I'm most excited about is firstly new characters, new
Mhm.
stages, potentially maybe a one-player mode would be
Yeah,
nice, and just better online play. I hope, I hope it just
that's
doesn't lag as
true.
much.
Yeah,
You know?
like the online was definitely good in Smash 4, but it definitely had room for improvement. And if they're
Yeah,
going to have a paid online service, my hope is that they're going to have an improved system there. And I mean, the menu really wasn't that great. I hope they kind of just overhauled the UI entirely.
yeah.
Um, I also would love to see the 3DS stages blown up into HD. I think that would be cool.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Like the Pac-Man stage would be awesome. The Rainbow Road stage would be awesome. The Magic stage would be awesome.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, you've got that Pokemon stage on the tower. You've got
Yep.
the Spirit Tracks, Gerudo Valley. There were so many good
Yep.
stages in that
Oh
3DS
yeah.
game.
The Paper Mario stage was good
Yeah,
too.
there were so
A whole
many
bunch
good
of
stages.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to look forward to, even if it's just an enhanced port. Like even if
Mhm.
it's just like a deluxe edition. Um, I mean, if even if it's literally just the original game with all the DLC and the Splatlings, that's still an amazing package.
Yeah, to me that's worth it. I will buy it.
And
I
that's
mean,
what I expected.
it makes me regret buying all the DLC.
True, yes. I didn't buy all the DLC. I bought some of it though.
All the characters and the stages anyway. So I did do
Yeah.
that, but I guess I'll still have it for the 3DS version, which I still play sometimes. So
Yeah, I
I
still
don't
play
I
that.
honestly don't regret it. And there was a lot of like I put a lot of hours into that Wii U version. So and I
Oh
probably
man.
still will. So
Yeah, me too. I put a lot of hours into that. I
yeah,
I think I still I don't know. I think I put more into Brawl just because of the Subspace Emissary and that
same.
trophy game, that trophy mini game in that game was actually really fun. I
Yeah.
used to play that a lot. And just going to a shop and buying trophies is like not the same.
I think I've probably put more hours into Brawl more than any other Smash Bros. Personally.
I keep looking at myself, which is not a good idea because then I look like I'm like half asleep. I should be looking into the camera. Sorry about that.
So do you still want to talk about like because you mentioned two things to me. One, my like different perspectives. Me owning a Switch and you not, and also like what you wanted to like the predictions and whatnot, like E3
Well,
predictions and stuff. Yeah.
we're already close to an hour 15 at this point, and I didn't plan on cutting this video at all.
Mhm.
So I'm starting to think that maybe we could save that for another video.
Okay.
It's also like past 2 in the morning.
Oh, okay. I haven't even seen the time. We just been talking, so.
Oh yeah, it's
Mhm.
this is much longer than I thought it would be. But we had a ridiculously good discussion, and
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think it was all pertinent discussion. Like I think we covered all the bases pretty well, and I don't think there was a whole lot of conversation that wasn't relevant or I hope not
Yeah.
interesting.
And we didn't talk about every single game, but we talked about I think the main highlights of the direct. Splatoon, Smash. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
uh,
Kirby, the 3DS remakes.
Kirby, Luigi's Mansion, all that stuff. So I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I guess they also announced a date for Hyrule Warriors. They
Yep.
announced that sushi game is coming to the Switch as well as the 3DS.
Hmm.
And I feel like there was at least one other thing, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I can't think of on the top of my head. I don't have the information right in front of me.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a pretty great direct. It was probably my favorite direct in a year or two, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, in quite a while actually. I was very impressed with it. There's a lot to look forward to. There's quite a lot of games I'm gonna definitely. For me, I will say this really quickly. Being a Switch owner and everything, for me, the definites, uh, Octopath Traveler,
Hmm.
Smash, of course.
Hmm.
I think Kirby is most definitely gonna happen. Dark Souls. Now I haven't played Dark Souls, but I think Dark Souls is gonna happen. Then I think those are the main ones for me that I'll definitely be getting for the Switch, and I will definitely be getting Undertale as well.
Yeah,
So that's definitely going to be happening, and possibly Okami as well. It looks very interesting. So,
yeah, I'd recommend it for sure.
and I'll be excited to see what they actually, what else is going to be coming this year. See what happens.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they're still going to be announcing a whole bunch more games at E3, and
Hmm.
that this was like I guess a few of these games will be coming out in the second half, but this was mostly the first half of the
Yeah.
year. I guess some are coming out in July, but like this is all pre-Christmas shopping season for the most part.
Oh yeah, and we still haven't even seen Metroid. We still haven't even like Metroid Prime 4. We
Yeah,
still haven't even seen that Pokemon game.
yeah.
We have only seen one trailer of that Yoshi game, and it's not going to stop there. I wouldn't doubt if there will eventually be another Mario game sooner rather than later.
I wouldn't be
You know,
surprised if there's a Mario Odyssey 2 in development.
yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised either, or something along those lines. And of course, like going back to Wii U ports, Mario Maker.
Yeah, I was
You
just
know,
about to say that actually.
yeah, you know,
That would be an interesting game because you would need to have it in portable mode to build stages because you would need that touchscreen. And it doesn't have a stylus either.
Mhm.
So maybe it'll come with a stylus. I don't know. That's gonna be interesting
Yeah.
because that was probably the game that was like that took advantage of the Wii U the best. Like that game, like I didn't play it for like a long period of time, but when I played it, I was so into that game. Like I
Oh
played it
yeah.
for hours and hours every night. I used to love watching people stream it too. So if they can find a way to get that to the Switch, I'd be very happy because that game was an insanely good idea. And
It seems very likely. I mean, they released it on the 3DS, right? Why wouldn't they for the Switch?
yeah, I
But
should think so. And
they're probably not trying to like, pour everything all at once. Keep it stretched out a little bit,
yeah,
right?
exactly. They learned the lesson. They're trying to kind of get a consistent schedule here.
Yeah.
And hopefully at E3 we hear about whatever, whether it's a virtual console or whether it's a Netflix style classic games service. We'll see what happens with that. Right now we've just got the arcade archives, which is
Yeah.
not really, not something I'm interested in, to be honest.
Yeah. There's still the Wii U Virtual Console for now, and there's of course the 3DS one. So, you
Yeah.
know, but I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see when that actually comes out. First of all, what they do with it, and second of all, what games they port. I feel like it's going to be a much bigger library than the Wii U had. Maybe something closer to what the Wii had. You know? I know the Wii at
Uh,
least had things like Chrono Trigger and stuff, you know.
yeah, it's gonna be tough, I imagine, to get licenses for all those third-party games. But I mean, they pulled it off the last two times.
Yeah.
Um,
Since they have more third-party support now, it might not be as difficult as it was for the Wii U, you know. So
I should hope so.
yeah.
I'm assuming at the very least they're gonna have a whole bunch of first-party games available right away, and
Hmm.
I'm hoping there's some kind of on-demand service. So yeah, we should probably cut it there, I guess, because we're getting close to like an hour and 20 minutes, which is insane.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, James. We should have figured this was gonna happen.
no, man, it's perfect. It's great. Like I'm all for long discussions.
Yeah.
I love watching that stuff on YouTube. So I hope this was enjoyable for anyone who may
Yeah.
or may not watch it.
Thank you
Uh,
guys. Thank you for having me, James. Thank you for watching me, and check out my channel.
yeah, I'll put a link to
Shameless
Rob's
plug.
channel. And thank you, Rob. This was great. This actually went far better than. I'm not saying I wasn't expecting it to be interesting or something, but like I was
Yeah.
just kind of nervous, and but this was
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, I think it went really well.
Yeah, and I would rather do like, see, I've thought about doing stuff like this on my channel before,
Hmm.
but you have way more knowledge with this than I do, so there's a lot of blanks that you can fill in, and I don't mind giving my opinion and whatnot, but you know, I'm not an expert, that's for sure, about a lot of things. I
Um,
should really read up more and be more up to date with my gaming
mm.
knowledge, you know.
I don't consider
So
myself an expert, but I certainly consider myself an enthusiast, and
yeah,
I'm kind of a news junkie, I guess. So
yeah.
there's that. So yeah, I actually I was going to do a vlog on this, but I figured I'd mention that I am thinking of doing a more produced show, a more kind of news show, maybe like a weekly or bi-weekly kind of thing. So this is kind of my first experiment, my first foray into that type of programming, and I hope you enjoyed it. If so, feel free to give it a like and subscribe. And
Yeah, please subscribe to his
maybe head
channel.
over and subscribe to Rob's channel too. Shameless plug. I hope this was enjoyable. For anyone who actually made it to the end of this, thank you very much. Thank you for sticking it out. And I look forward to the future of the Nintendo Switch.
See you later, guys. Peace.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Rob.
Later.